This is my MC piece of paper. You can kind of see how wet it is. Hopefully, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Just make sure it's wet and kind of soak through. It should be sticking really well to the board here. Don't be afraid of using a lot of methyl cellulose. Use a lot. Yeah, keep going. Go for it. More. This is not a delicate, gentle, precise process. So don't be afraid to just goop it up. You have a whole bottle here, so
it's impossible to use too much.
So you can see kind of how much I used on mine already. I used like a quarter of the bottle between gluing it down here and then soaking some in. So that gives you an idea of how liberal I am with methyl cellulose. And why I was so surprised that Malachi went through so much.
So little.
So little, yeah.
I'm relatively conservative because I only want to use as much as I have to.
Yeah, this is as much as I have to.
Again, it's all about experimenting and finding out where.
It raises an important question, though, point.
Oh.
That I don't think there's a good answer to. Everybody hear me? A question that came up last panel that I don't think we have a good answer to is if you can keep. I think there's a limit to how much sizing the paper will absorb. So it's not like you can make it crisper and crisper and crisper by continuing to do the process or by adding twice or 3 times as much methyl cellulose. It doesn't really seem to work that way. Is that your experience? Like it just takes as much as it can. So
that depends on the thickness. So
yeah.
Thicker paper you'll put more on because it will absorb more. Thinner paper, like if you use tissue paper, then you would have used less than.
All right. Well, I want to get through this just so our paper doesn't dry out. We'll get back to that. So if you're using another, let's backcoat it. So grab your second piece of paper, and we're going to do the same thing here. Spray it, get it wet on both sides, and we're going to let that sit just a little bit, soak up water and expand. And we already have some methyl cellulose down on the surface of this paper, so it should stick pretty well. And just wait a couple of seconds for your paper to soak up some water and expand. And then you want to lay it down on top of the other sheet. Now, before you do this, let me warn you, it's kind of easy to smooth out wrinkles when the paper is on this nice hard backing. But once you lay paper on top of paper, it kind of starts to stick together, and it's really hard to move it around. So if you're putting 2 sheets of paper together, you want to be a little bit more careful when you're laying these down. So for these, just laying it down on the short end and kind of like gently rolling it down, kind of like Quentin was saying, how he rolls up the sheets and unrolls them. You can kind of simulate that. So once you've laid it down, you can put some more methyl cellulose on there. Again, this is about how much I'm using. Give it a real good squeeze, and just paint that on top of that sheet too. So what this will do is it'll allow sizing to soak down through that second sheet we put down. It'll also soak through and kind of add to that glue in between the sheets. So the methyl cellulose is going to soak through and be a real nice glue binding both of these together. And you're probably noticing there's fibers going all over the place with these brushes. Again, if you use softer brushes, or if you use paper that isn't, so susceptible to kind of peeling off, you won't get this effect. But this is the budget materials you get for free. So,
do you have a preference for whether you put the smooth or rough side down?
Oh, the paper?
Yeah.
No, I never pay attention to that at all. Actually.
Because I sometimes try to put the rough side down because the smooth side I feel like is less likely to feel those fibers.
Interesting. The rough side also might be a little bit more
better to adhere.
Yeah.
the opposite.
The opposite.
Well, on the top sheet because I want that.
So just to give you guys an idea,
Well, with foam brushes, it tends like you hear like how certain it is. You really can't too much.
I was just talking. You want it to, you want it to, well, you want it to so
This is definitely not a problem.
use like
It's super glue. It's not super glue, and it's not. How do I make it? In other words, this is made by Stark. Yeah. So it's paste. You want it as a paste.
that's what we want. It's gonna feel how it's sticking down really nicely. That's totally what we want. Because it's gonna stick fast and
So okay. So you make it.
you're gonna have to buy that. So it just you buy the powder, it's not the cellulose powder.
No, we want to do it the
That's one of the
make it at home. I need either start from a flower for the paste.
He buys it because it's not just paste. What you're talking about is making glue from flour.
Yeah, you make it from flour and that's like the water you see on there, but you want it like
And in fact, that's going to sound properties we don't get because insects don't like that.
yeah, one of the nice things about this paper too is there's all this like going through and there's a little bit of like not even get it.
So, like if you just a little bit of dry there, you can use the right starch to taste it until you can refine it.
Yeah, we.
That's when the injection is nice.
This is the edge isn't something it'll start to depend on how the whole thing.
Okay, so you have to buy it.
You can't make it home because it's a complex process.
Yeah, this
So that one is 16 inches is right.
Well, I would recommend finding this big piece.
I think
Something
How much glue?
just as much glue and
I don't know at this point. I don't really know what anymore because that paper feels like a paper towel. I'm serious. That paper feels like a paper towel. My friend over here, he's trying to sell all that paper. He's testing the entire thing for. So he has over 200 sheets.
Bring it back in. Okay, so I don't know if things are going to be totally dry by the end, but I want to make sure you guys see what it's like dry. So this is what I use. I use some really big sheets of paper. So I have just these are just like I think the $20 sheets of like 1/8 inch, 16th inch plexiglass from like you can get them at like Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever. Yeah, and you might be able to get bigger sheets or have bigger sheets cut down. But I think they're really easy to store. They're lightweight. They're shatter resistant. They provide a really good surface. A lot of people use glass or an old mirror or their shower door or window or something. But this is what I found works best for me. It's really easy to store. It works really well. So this is a sheet that I backcoated. I don't know when. So this is just a single sheet that I prepared with methyl cellulose. You can see it's nice and stuck even when it's dry. So peeling it off can sometimes be a little bit difficult, but it generally doesn't give you too many issues. You want to watch the edges here because sometimes they can start to tear a little bit, and you need to kind of tease them apart. Like there, it starts to tear a little bit, but you're going to cut the paper anyway before you fold it. So it's generally not an issue if you have a little tear, as long as it doesn't start cropping in through the whole thing.
With glass might stay blue and
So there we go.
glass doesn't stay blue. Yeah.
So one of the things you can see, hopefully, is the back of this is a little bit shiny. So the methyl cellulose soaks through the paper and glues it down. So since it's such a flat surface, there's going to be a little bit of like methyl cellulose residue on the other side. If you get it just a little bit wet when you fold it and kind of smooth it out, you won't really notice that at all. A lot of the things I fold really only use one side too, so I generally don't worry about it too much. Other people did. Okay, I did some painting on this too, so some of the paint came off on the back of the paper. But yeah, this you can hear a lot crisper than the unprepared paper. So this is a lot better for folding than just the uncoated version of it. So that's that. I also brought some other things that I use. I have a big cutting mat that I use then with that paper. I'll use just a straight edge and an X-Acto knife. I just use the grid on here to cut a paper to size. You will need this if you're backcoating your own paper because when it expands and dries, and you don't really know what the size is going to be exactly after that. So I always recommend cutting the paper to size after wet folding it, or after backcoating it. Get this guy over there. Okay, cool. So I think we're ready to go into handle discussion mode. So this paper is really good for wet folding. This is something I folded last night. It's Mark Thompson's Octopus. So this is something, I'll go ahead and pass it around. I folded this from the Hiri Unryu paper. It's this brown stuff. I really like this stuff a lot. You can order it on Blick. It's like $3 for a giant sheet, and it's really inexpensive. It folds really nice.
You order it from Blick?
Yeah, Blick.
Dick Blick is art supply.
Dick Blick, the art supply store.
So I'm going to pass this around. Be gentle, but this is a wet folded model. You'll notice it holds its shape really well,
You guys
and you can
might
make
have
a lot of
also heard
nice
of
curves.
Utrick art supply stores. Utrick.
U-track. It's called U-track.
Yeah, Utrecht is Dick Blick now. It's
Utrick
owned by
merged, got bought out by.
So
They monopolize.
During the chaos where everybody was working, in a conversation I did a little bit of research, and Dick Blick sells a 1.5 ounce bottle of limecone methylcellulose for around $12. That's about what Plaza Artist Materials and probably Jerry's Artorama and similar art stores charge for that size. Talus, T-A-L-S, if you go online, sells half a pound for about $12, but then it'll probably have a $12 shipping. Again, if you buy half a pound and you don't do this all the time, it will last a very long time. If you do it a lot, it won't last as long, but that's still
It'll still last a really long time.
So this was a 1 pound bag to start, right?
Yeah, I got like a 1 pound bag and split it with someone, and it lasted me years. So, yep.
What kind of ratio do you use between the methylcellulose and water?
I think Jared is a good person to ask about that.
Yeah, so depends how thick you want it. Different suppliers have different concentrations of methylcellulose. For the Limeco stuff, it comes in like the little, it used to be orange, now it's a black and white bottle. It's about 1.5 ounces. That's what I've been mostly using for 10 years or so. And for that I use about a tablespoon of powder for a cup or 250 ml of water. But I've used other methylcellulose and where I had to use like 4 tablespoons for the same amount.
So